Hello everyone, it's me on So I just wanted to talk about some things that I think personally would be pretty cool if they were added to Darktide. Not that they have to be a part of the game and that they will be a part of the game, but these are just some things would enjoy to be a part of the game. Now I will talk about a bunch of things that were mainly from Vermintide 2 because it's understandable that Darktide, like developers of Darktide, are trying to pull in people from the Vermin 2 Tide. What's the word I'm looking for? Fans. Like they want the fans from Vermintide 2 to enjoy this game, so they can transition over to it. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that the game plays like it. But anyways, let's just get started. So the first thing, which I think is, it's an obvious because I've seen a lot of gameplay about it, and that's having different weapons. One thing I loved about Vermintide 2 is the fact that I didn't have to use just this one weapon and one ranged weapon over and over and over again. If I got bored of them, I could swap to a different weapon. And that's one thing I'm hoping for in Darktide 2, even though I've seen gameplay of characters of the Ogre, I think, using this grenade launcher, while most of the time in all the other gameplays he would run around with a fully automatic shotgun. So I'm hoping that's a sign that there's going to be more weapons than what they are showing off in their trailers and gameplay showcases, because that would just add more variety to the game and variety to your playstyle. Because I know in Vermintide 2, let's say you use a one-handed sword, you could do pretty good single target damage, but it was pretty weak. Or maybe you wanted to use a Warhammer. A Warhammer is always really good for single target damage. It had armor piercing, so you can fight all the armored enemies very easily without any real trouble. But when it came to fighting hordes, it was pretty hard because you always have to charge up a heavy attack, and if they smack you around too much, it kind of you'll take a lot of damage while you're trying to prime up these heavy attacks. And your big sweeping heavy attacks didn't do much damage. But that was more or less the playstyle you would want if you wanted to run around with a Warhammer. Now I'm hoping for the same thing in Darktide as well, because we could have a lot more weapons, and knowing the 40k universe, there is a lot of different crazy chainsaw sword, chainsaw axes, glowing lightning swords, flame bolters, melter guns. There's a bunch of different kinds of weapons in the 40k universe that I think would be really cool added to Darktide. Whether they're class specific or can be used between everybody, I'm not really too fixated on only certain classes should have this, but if it is a class system when it comes to weapons, I don't mind that at all. It was like that in Vermintide 2, so I'm used to it, so it's not a big deal if they change it or don't change it. Anyways, well, next thing. Different abilities. So from what I understand in Darktide, you get two different abilities. You have your weapon ability, and then you have your class ability. I remember seeing one where the Zealot was able to dash a really far distance to catch up to whomever enemy they wanted to bring down. Or the Ogre can charge through a massive horde and knock everyone down. And his shotgun was either semi-auto, or he can change it to be fully automatic. While the soldier or veteran could overcharge his laser gun, or use his chainsaw sword in a different way that was really good at single target damage. These things are, I'm assuming the abilities are really just based off the guns and a little bit off the character you play. So it would be pretty cool to see more abilities from them, because that way when we level up our characters, maybe if there is a level system, which is another thing I think they should add to the game, is a leveling system. If they have a leveling system, it'd be cool to see if we could unlock new abilities, maybe new skills for different weapons. Maybe you can change the chainsaw sword into a chainsaw axe or something, and there's a different ability with it where you cut through a bunch of enemies, or you change it so it's single target. But yeah, seeing new abilities will help bring variety to the game and help your playstyle even more, because maybe you like doing more range damage, so you pick a class that can like the soldier can, or the veteran can overcharge their weapon and make it do more damage. Or maybe you want someone who can play safely, so you use the Zealot's dash ability or something, you know? Or maybe you give them another ability where they give everyone in an area buff where they give holy weapons or something like that, you know? So yeah, having abilities like that would be pretty cool. I'm assuming we're going to have more weapons and more abilities in the future when that game comes out, which I'm hoping for. And I mean, it's not the end of the world if they don't do stuff like that, but the gameplay would get kind of stale if you just play the same thing over and over and over without any way to alter it up and change it, especially if it comes to weapons. Anyways, the next thing, which actually is my favorite, is scoreboards. One thing about Vermintide 2 I loved was always the scoreboards. At the end of the game, seeing who did the most damage, who got the most kills, most headshots, did the most damage to the boss, you know, all that, it just felt good, especially if you were the one who got most of the high scores, making you feel like you're the carry. It would really boost your ego and it would feel really good in the end. So having something like that in Darktide as well would also be pretty cool, seeing like the leaderboard system is just an awesome thing to have in this kind of a game where you're constantly running through, killing a bunch of stuff, doing a lot of damage, trying to kill the boss, and having a leaderboard at the very end to say, oh, who did the most of this or that, who got the most revives, who got down the most, who did the most damage. It would still be that would be a pretty cool system. It always feels good to have some sort of leaderboards or scoreboard in these types of games. Now here's another one, but I'm not really I'm on the fence with this one. This one is not super important, but it's the hub world. I would love to see if there is a hub world in Darktide, because I know in Vermintide 2 there was a hub world. You can sit in the hub world, you can mess around and, you know, test out your build on the dummies. You could open the store, you could try out different weapons. You could just mess around and wait and look for all the Easter eggs inside the game, and it was just it was pretty cool. The hub world's pretty cool, especially if you're just waiting for a game, so you just, you know, mess around in the hub world. And so, but it's not like a huge thing, right? It's not like it's gonna be the end of the world if they don't have a hub world anymore. It's just a hub world would kind of be pretty good to have, so we have somewhere to mess around in when we're waiting for a match to start, or we're waiting to find a group, or when we're waiting for our friends to join. We could just mess around in the hub world while we're waiting, instead of just sitting here looking at a screen and just waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen, you know? Being in the hub world makes waiting for a game not so boring, if that makes any sense. Alright, so another one that I think would be pretty good is more maps. It has been confirmed that they are going to add more maps. Like, there's another map where it looks like a desert biome or something like that. A desert map, that would be cool. I haven't seen very many desert maps when it comes to video games nowadays, but yeah, seeing a desert-like area would be pretty cool. I wonder if they're going to have, like, different enemies on the maps as well, which would also be pretty cool. So yeah, more maps would mean more things to look at, because playing through the same map over and over and over again, yeah, it would be boring. But yeah, I'm assuming this is also another thing that they're always going to have more of, because having more weapons is good because it gives you variety to play for your play style. More abilities, you know, because, you know, again, your play style and changing up how you play your character. More maps because more, you know, areas to have. And if they play it just like Vermintide 2, where you just play quick play, you could play random maps instead of playing the same map over and over, playing it the same way over and over again. You could just get different maps and play through each map however you want, which is pretty cool. Anyways, another one which I'm assuming there's not going to be much about it, but more classes. And I mean stuff like not another ogre type. I mean something like we have the veteran, the zealot, the psyche, and then the ogryn, who are our 4 main classes that we have in the game. Another class like the Sister of Battle, that would be a cool class to add into the game. You know, someone who focuses around buffing their allies and using flame weapons to burn their enemies down and chopping them up with a sword, or maybe another class like an apothecary, which is like a healer class. So maybe you have abilities that shield your allies, or maybe you can create a health pack on the spot or something, or whatever, you know. Having different classes just adds more variety to the game, but this is something that I don't think is a must-have for the game. It's just something I understand that it would be pretty cool to see other classes. If not, you know, more versions of the classes we already have, like in Vermintide 2, you would have different types of the soldier, different types of the fire witch, different types of the elf class. And maybe we'll see the same thing in Darktide, where we'll get different versions of the same class. It somewhat is the same class, but it plays differently than its original. But yeah. And then finally, this is a big one for me, mainly because this is what I liked about Vermintide 2, is controller support. Now, I didn't check if there was going to be full controller support or not, but I'm hoping there is, because Vermintide 2 was really fun with the controller. You know, sit back, relax, just play some Vermintide 2 with the controller. And I'm hoping for the same thing in Darktide. That pretty much does it for all the things I think would be really cool in the game. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see in Darktide 2. Again, I don't want to like push the developers into thinking they need all this stuff for a good game. Like, definitely new weapons, new maps, and new abilities, or maybe new classes, would be really cool thing to have in the game, and I think those are the most important things maybe to have in the game. But I don't think we should really like feel like the developers should be forced into this, because the developers, again, are going to make the game how they want to make it. They're going to make it in how they envisioned it, and make it how they envisioned it. And yeah, we're just going to have to enjoy the game for how it is. But yeah, these are some cool things. Again, let me know what you think. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.